Today's lesson is heart is a beacon of hope. Now we all know that the heart receives because we feel the pain and compassion and grief, and we always feel it in our hearts first. But we also, some of us may not know that the heart actually emits energy. They emit energy with the same kind of emotions that we have capacity to feel. So you can actually beam out the emotions you want. So today's lesson, in the next 4 minutes or so, we'll talk about how this is. Now, first, the first point there, the heart receives. Everyone can relate to that. That we can receive and feel pain. But not too many people know that the heart's magnetic field carries a signature, and that signature is your emotional state, and others can feel that state. People say communication is percent of communication is non-body language. Well, I believe that the majority of that non-body language is actually what people feel when they're around you. You could be telling them, buy this if you're a salesperson. They may feel awkward. They may not want to buy that. Not because they don't like the product, but they just don't feel the energy. They don't resonate with your energy. And the same product could be sold by some other salesperson where you feel more comfortable. We usually attribute that to, I trust this person more. But the trust comes from a feeling that says, you know what, I want to connect with this person. And that is your heart's power. Your heart can actually emit energy that can affect people around you. So if you have a workplace or a home environment which is charged with negative energy sometimes, take a minute and begin to take the slow deep breaths and experience positive emotions flowing in and out of your heart, and you will see your energy signature, the magnetic field that you're sitting in a bubble of. That magnetic field will begin to transform others around you. Now, here's a more important aspect of that the power of your heart is that energy signature is multidimensional. If more than one or two of you get together and focus your intention on nothing but love, compassion, and appreciation, and you take deep breaths and you beam that out and visualize that going across the globe, you can change consciousness worldwide. As a matter of fact, there have been numerous studies that have shown this very. They have shown the people who sit down with a focused meditative intention have reduced crime rates in regions where they've done that. Greg Braden talks about a formula of square root of 1% of a population doing meditation and focused, peaceful intention can transform the entire population. So, what can you do about focused intention, about the strife that's happening in the for the United States folks and perhaps others in the world? We're seeing a lot of turmoil there. We're seeing a lot of uprising where grassroots movements are coming there to counter United States presidential executive orders. Well, if we're feeling helpless, we're across the globe. We're not in the United States, some of us are, but we're far away from the action in terms of physical action in Washington, D.C. What is it that we can do to shine the light in that region? Well, you can actually do this. And did you know that your heart can shift world consciousness? And having that understanding already in your heart makes it much more easier for you to actually participate in this. Sometimes we don't have the scientific data to back up anything we feel, but we trust our guts and say, you know what, this resonates with me. I was reading early this morning news. A lot of the executive orders, if those who are interested, is happening in the United States with the Trump administration. A lot of the executive orders had to be watered down by the Republican Congress. And the reason that it had to be watered down is because of the local and grassroots uprising that's taking place, where there was a movement to actually reduce the powers of the ethics committee and the politicians who are lawmakers essentially that implement the executive order. They couldn't bring themselves to doing that because of the uprising. So a lot of the work that people are doing from the uprising to shining their hearts is taking form. And we don't have to, marry ourselves to we are doing this because we want a certain outcome. Whenever we shine our hearts, it's not that we're shining our hearts and saying, universe, I only want this outcome. The outcome may surprise you, or it may not be the one that you are hoping to happen, but the outcome will be for the best of humanity. You can only create that anger and anxiety where you can push anything through. And it is that you find strength within when you're pushed against a wall. And that's when times people really find their strength within, is when they stand up for themselves. So it's an opportunity. If we were to look at this from a consciousness perspective, that Donald Trump is a light worker. He is a light worker in a sense, because that light worker is hearing the ability of humankind to get off the fence and to take a stand for what they believe, whatever they want to believe in. They may believe in oppression, and maybe an expression of something that leads to oppression, or they believe in an expression that leads to change for something that benefits humanity. So you can think of people who are adversaries, that in your traditional sense of adversaries or foes, as really light workers that help others find the strength within to step up. And once you find that strength within, you never go back. You can never put the toothpaste back in the tube. You can never unring the bell. So how many people around the globe are beginning to get off the fence and saying, no more. This is what we want. We want a different world. And once you have that uh, power within you that just erupts, you're unstoppable. And so I consider Donald Trump to be a light worker of sorts, if you can believe that or not. Maria, you have a comment. It says, as Christ says, expect the most benevolent outcome. Absolutely. And that's where the intention is. We want to expect the most benevolent outcome. We may see a certain unfolding in the world as something that's negative, but really all it is just a catalyst for the next change. It's a catalyst for someone to step forward, the Martin Luther Kings of the world, the Gandhis of the world, to step forward and actually be in their heart and show us who they are and lead us out of this. So wonderful. Lane, yes, I like that, shining our hearts. And she likes Maria's comments. Yes, it is shining your heart. That's exactly what this is to shine your heart. But remember that the steps that I took you through in this whole sequence of heart locking technique. And it is a deliberate technique. It is actually a scientific backing to this technique we won't go into right now. But the first technique was, after we got into the quick coherence technique, is to radiate every cell in our body, we have about 100 trillion cells in our body, is to radiate every cell in our body with this nourishing energy. Why is that? It's because if we don't love ourselves first, we can't love anybody else. We need to build the capacity to love ourselves. And so the very key step in this process is to radiate that heart loving energy to each cell of our own body. It's like when you're in an airplane and there's they're giving you a safety talk. They say when the oxygen mask comes down, you want to put it on yourself first before the one next to you. And there's a reason for that from that perspective, but there's also a reason for that when you're actually shining your heart out to the world. And that reason is that you want to create that love within you. Because if you create the love within you, if you don't love yourself, how are you going to love somebody else outside of you? Thank you so much for sharing your energy this morning with me, or this afternoon, where you are. Have a good, wonderful week, and stay warm for those of us who are in the freeze.